All right, guys, this is what I'm working on, a 2007 Stewart & Stevenson M1078. This came from the National Guard in California, best I can tell from these numbers here. Has right around 8,000 miles. It runs. It's got some issues I got to work out. Original tires from 2007. A little bit of a fuel leak, probably coming from up here. When I got it, the guy had already had the drive shafts retubed, so those are straight, but I might pull them off and get them balanced because we're going to go to Eco Hubs. Well, not because we're going to go to Eco Hubs, but I'm also going to put Eco Hubs on here. Came with the bows and everything. This is my roof rack off the van. That's the van. It's in really good shape. Little issue with the air brakes. I gotta figure out, it stops, but the parking brake doesn't release, or doesn't engage actually. Got my battery tender on there. This is my, I'm using a Victron. And then put the NATO plug on the end. Batteries are newer, so I lucked out there. It's a really clean machine. Got the Cat C7. Already pulled the steering wheel out. That's what we're going to work on today. Already got the Chrysler seats in there. That was going to be my first video, but I'm going to push this one ahead and you'll get that one next, to how I adapted these seats in here. Saving a little bit of money. All right, let's get to it. Okay, now that I have the steering wheel out of the M1078, I'm going to replace it with the Dorman steering wheel, the 924-5234, right there. And you'll have to clearance the height of this to the same height of the original steering wheel. And then what most people do is they'll take this turn signal cam out. You'll have to line it up inside here, center punch it, drill and tap the holes in there. Not that hard, but just kind of a pain in the butt. And when you're in a jam, meaning for time, I bought this kit from Aviator 4x4. I'll put a link to his eBay, but he 3D prints these, and they seem really high quality, extremely durable, and you can fasten them with these. Now this is actually 3 separate parts that unscrew, and it's got an Allen. It's for an Allen. So you just set your turn signal. Once you clearance this, put the cam down in. You have a couple options. So you can clean all this out with rubbing alcohol, and the same with this part, and then glue this in and just leave it with the glue, or put this washer down in here. And then you have 2 options here for fasteners, a long and a short. Even if you put the long one in here, you should still have room, or you will have room for a puller. If you need to pull this back off, you can get the threads in down there. So that's how we're gonna do it. I think I'm gonna fasten it with these threaded pieces instead of gluing it in. I'll show you how it goes. All right, I'm going to remove the canceling cam. You take out these 3 screws. Then we're going to measure the difference between these two steering wheels. That way we know how much we can remove off the other one. We'll take a pair of digital calipers. Pull this dimension here, 0.3955. Then on the Dorman wheel, we have 0.8860. All right, after taking my dimensions, I came up with a 1/2 inch. Has to come off of here, and then, as you can see where the pin ends, that's a 1/2 inch. I'm told by Aviator 4x4 you can just cut along this line. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do yet. If I'm going to cut on this side of the line or this side of the line. I'm going to consider this a little more before I make my cut, but I'll show you how it looks when I'm done. All right, here's what I decided to do. I'm just going to take a razor blade and I'm going to cut right here along this line and remove this rubber, and I think that's going to help make it easier to cut this aluminum in here with a cutoff wheel. All right, this is what it looks like after you cut this rubber ring off. It exposes the aluminum just underneath it, and then I'm just going to take a cutoff wheel and go around there and cut that off. So this is how I'm holding it. It's just kind of resting here. It's not clamped down. I just need it to hold it so I can go around there and cut, but that's how I'm going to hold it. So this is what it looks like after cutting that off. I'll say that I think cutting away this rubber first made it a lot easier to cut than trying to cut through the rubber to get to this. Okay, this is what it looks like after I cut that excess off and then polished it. I chamfered this inner edge with the file a little bit. Cleaned it out real good. I wiped it down with alcohol, even though I'm not gonna glue this in. I'm gonna screw it in. I'm gonna use the fasteners that Aviator 4x4 provides. It's just a canceling cam, so I don't think it's that big of a deal to glue it in. And then once this is in there, you can see there's a little bit of a step, which is not present on the factory one. The factory one, this canceling cam is flush with the steering wheel. I'm gonna have a little bit of a lip, but if I recall, before I remove the factory wheel, there is a little bit of a gap there, so this will just close that gap. If anything, it'll probably make it look better. Hopefully, that's all it does, and I don't have to pull this all back apart and cut it a little more, because that's gonna be a pain in the butt. So he provides you with these fasteners. These unscrew. This piece of all thread. This is a washer. I'm going to use the short ones because I plan on, at some point, I know I'm going to have to probably pull this steering wheel back off, and I don't think there's enough thread left with the longer ones, so I'm just going to use the short ones, and I think it'll be fine. Since I've been gone so long, freedom calls. I didn't check to see if these are metric or standard, but I'm using a 5/16 Allen. Now one, you can get away from going from the back side, but the turn signaling cam part is in the wrong. Interferes. So you'll have to go from the front side. Okay, that's what it looks like after it's installed. Got plenty of gap there. No issues with clearance. And we're gonna fire up and test it out.